Anatomy and Physiology. This is a course in human anatomy and physiology. The level of the course is roughly advanced high school through college sophomore. It assumes no prior knowledge. The course emphasizes function, that is, how things work. So sections over skeletal and muscular anatomy are kind of skimpy. It would be best to progress through the course in sequence because information presented early will help you understand material that comes later. It consists of 22 units. They're described in the next slide. Some units are rather long and complex, so divided into 2 or more parts to make them more manageable. Each unit in the screens that follow will include a link to the video for that unit. Here's a look at the contents. Some of the units are short, like 4, cell division, 5, tissues, and 6, skin. Others are much longer, like Unit 3, cells, and Unit 19, cardiovascular physiology. The nervous system, being extremely complex, is divided into 2 units, Unit 11 and Unit 12. The reproductive system is placed after the endocrine system because I feel that's appropriate since reproduction is controlled largely by the endocrine system. Most courses place the reproductive system toward the end of the course. Let's look at some of the details. Unit 1, Anatomy and Physiology, consists of a single video. Part A deals with anatomy and Part B, physiology. Unit 2, Matter, on the other hand, is divided into 3 videos. Video 1 includes parts A through C. A is a background to chemistry, B, chemical elements, and C, chemical compounds. The second video consists of part D through F. D, chemical reactions. E, different molecules have different shapes. Now, this sounds a little strange, but it's really a very important idea. And part F, inorganic compounds. The third video consists of part G, organic compounds. Unit 3, cells. This has 4 parts presented with 5 videos. This is quite complex because my feeling is if you understand what a cell does, this goes a long way in helping you understand what the human does. Video 1 includes Part A, Introduction, which has general characteristics and functional systems. Part B is the nucleus. The nucleus is a control center. Proteins are the key. We'll look at the requirements for protein synthesis, the steps in protein synthesis, folding, errors, and degradation, regulation of protein synthesis, and finally, some examples of protein synthesis. The second video includes Part C, membrane systems. Now, I mentioned that this involves those activities in which membranes are involved, and it can get quite complex. So I've divided that into several videos. It includes Part C, the first part, which deals with location of membranes, the composition of membranes, transport through membranes, selective permeability, and characteristics of transport proteins. The second video, or the third altogether, also deals with Part C. It includes a discussion of the concentration of solutions and concentration gradients. Then there's an introduction, rather detailed, of passive transport, and then we'll look at active transport processes. Fourth video continues with Part C, membrane systems. This will include what I call cell-to-cell communications. Cells talk to one another. And I'll list briefly some of the other membrane functions. The last video includes Part D. This deals with the mitochondria and their role in metabolism. We'll look at a little background, we'll look at building material, and then we'll end up with a look at how energy is generated. Unit 4 is cell division. Unit 5 covers tissues, including epithelial, connective, muscular, and nervous tissue. Unit 6 covers the function and anatomy of the skin. Unit 7 deals with the anatomy of the entire skeleton. After an introduction, we'll outline the skeleton. We won't go into much detail for bones and markings. Most of that is not yet available, but we will end up with a look at articulations. Unit 8 also deals with the skeleton. In this case, we'll look at the function of the skeleton briefly. Then we'll look at some detail at the anatomy of a single bone and how bones grow. Then we'll end up with a look at healing and stress. Unit 9 deals with muscle anatomy. Part A, skeletal muscle characteristics. Part B will look at some examples of skeletal muscles. Part C is another that is not yet available. This would be a detailed classification of the muscles. Unit 10 deals with muscles. The first video will look at the structure of muscles. Part A, types and development. Part B, structure of skeletal muscle. It includes gross anatomy and microscopic anatomy. Video 2 deals more with the function. Part C is how do skeletal muscles work. It includes the mechanism of contraction, where the energy comes from, strength of contractions, and muscle actions. Part D deals with smooth muscle. We'll look at the characteristics and types of smooth muscle. Unit 11, cells of the nervous system, rather complex, divided into 3 videos. The video 1 begins with Part A, what is the nervous system? It's 2 coordinating systems. The nervous system has 2 subdivisions. We'll describe the 2 cell types, and we'll look briefly at embryonic development. Part B deals with glia, one of the 2 cell types. Glia is found in the peripheral and in the central nervous system. Video 2 in Unit 11 includes part of Part C, the neuron. This deals with the structure and the nerve impulse. Video 3 includes the rest of Part C, the neuron. We'll look at some detail of the synapse. The other part of the nervous system is one I entitle the functional organization of the nervous system, Unit 12. It consists of 5 different videos. Video 1 deals with Part A. What are the functional subdivisions and basic operation of the nervous system? We'll look at a telephone system and compare the nervous system to it. We'll describe 3 functional elements, and then we'll look at the general wiring. We'll look at characteristics of sensory systems. The second video deals with Part B. We'll start with the peripheral nervous system, looking at cranial nerves and spinal nerves, and then we'll look at Part C, the autonomic nervous system. We'll look at its characteristics, its anatomy, and some examples of its function. Video 3 begins with a look at Part D, the central nervous system, the first part of it. It includes support and protection, and we'll look at 2 substances that make up the central nervous system. Video 4 continues with Part B, a further look at the central nervous system. It includes a discussion of the spinal cord. This will include spinal reflexes, the muscle spindle, and its role in muscle contraction. It's quite complex. Video 5 deals with the rest of Part D, the central nervous system. We'll begin with the lowest part, the medulla, and work our way up through the pons and cerebellum, the midbrain, the thalamus and hypothalamus, and end with the cerebrum. Special senses are divided into two videos. Part A includes the classification, Part B, a discussion of general senses, and Part C, smell and taste. Part D is also covered here, and this deals with vision. We'll look at the anatomy of the eye and the physiology of the eye. The second video deals with Part E, the ear. We'll look at two functions of the ear. We'll discuss the anatomy of the ear, and then we'll look at how hearing and equilibrium work. Unit 14 is the endocrine system. Two videos are found here. Video 1 begins with Part A, the general function of the endocrine system. We'll look at a control system. We'll look at the component of the endocrine system. We'll look at its function in control, and we'll look briefly at some disorders of the endocrine system. The second video, Part B, the specifics of selected glands. We'll look at these glands, the hypothalamus, the neurohypophysis, the adenohypophysis, the thyroid, the adrenal medulla, and the adrenal cortex. You may notice that we don't cover all of the exams in this unit. We only cover those that tend to have a body-wide function and don't fit into a specific category. Glands that function on specific organs, like those play a role in digestion, we'll cover when we get to that organ system. Unit 15 deals with the reproductive system. It's divided into 4 videos. Video 1 includes Part A, an introduction to reproduction. We'll look at chromosomes, characteristics of reproduction, and cell division. Video 2 deals with Part B, Mendelian genetics. Now, this may seem a little odd because we don't normally cover much of this in an anatomy and physiology course, but I feel that it's important to provide a basis for the inheritance of characteristics. It seems complex, but it only deals with the simplest characteristics of genetics. Video 3 under reproductive begins with Part C, an introduction to sexual reproduction. Now, this is a little more detailed than the introduction to reproduction in the previous slide. Part D, the male, will look at the anatomy, hormonal control, and sexual intercourse. Finally, video 4 includes Part E, the female. The female includes anatomy, hormonal control, the ovarian cycle, and the menstrual cycle. Then events without pregnancy, events with pregnancy, and embryonic development. Unit 16 is blood. Part A deals with some general principles. This is found in video 1. Part B looks at blood, mainly plasma. Part C, red blood cells, their structure, life cycle, and blood types. The second video includes Part D, white blood cells, their types, origin, and function, and then Part E, platelets, and Part F, the lymphatic system, both structure and function. Unit 17 deals with the immune system. The first video includes Part A, an introduction, and Part B, what are germs? It also includes Part C, nonspecific immunity, and Part D, specific immunity. Video 2 includes how does the immune system do it? Part F, how are specific T cells and antibodies produced? Part G, how are the antigens neutralized or destroyed? Unit 18 covers circulatory anatomy. Part A is the anatomy of the heart, Part B, the structure of blood vessels, and Part C is a look at the major blood vessels. Part D, looks at blood vessels in detail. Most of this is not yet available. Unit 19 is the cardiovascular physiology. It includes 8 parts divided into 5 videos. Part A looks at pressure and flow. Part B, characteristics of cardiac muscle. Part C, cardiac cycle, that is, the events in a heartbeat. It includes heart rate and stroke volume, systole and diastole, heart sounds, ventricular volume, pressure, and valves. The second video consists of Part D, intrinsic coordination. That is the built-in coordination which allows the heart to beat atria first and then ventricles. It includes the conducting system, cardiac impulse, and the ECG. Video 3 includes Part E, the extrinsic coordination. This includes the cardiac output and factors that increase heart rate and stroke volume, and a brief look at congestive heart failure. Extrinsic refers to external factors that affect the functioning of the heart. Video 4 includes Part F, control of blood flow. That is, how can the blood flow toward the muscles during exercise? How can it be routed more toward the digestive system when digestion takes place? It's subdivided into pressure and resistance, control of blood flow, and central or reflex control of blood flow. Finally, Video 5 includes Part G, capillary exchange, Part H, integration of cardiovascular function. This will include capillary fluid shift, reflex control of arterial blood pressure, and the effect of muscular exercise on the functioning of the system. Unit 20, the respiratory system, has 5 parts. Video 1 has Part A, an introduction to general principles. Part B, the anatomy of the system, including development, gross anatomy, microscopic anatomy, and then more details of the lungs. The second video has Part C, the mechanics of breathing. Background, resistance, Boyle's law, inspiration and expiration, and lung capacities. Video 3 includes transport of gases, background, oxygen transport, and carbon dioxide transport. Part E, the control of breathing, includes respiratory center, rhythmical control, and rate and depth control. These are found in Video 4. Unit 21 covers the excretory system. Video 1 includes Part A, a general function, and Part B, anatomy. Under anatomy, we'll discuss development, gross anatomy, internal features, and some detail of the nephron. Video 2 includes the first part of Part C, urine production, in which we look at the nephron processes and the process of filtration. The third video continues with Part C. We'll look at urine production, including reabsorption and secretion, and diuretic. Video 4 then includes Part D, urine regulation. We'll look at calcium regulation and the role of parathormone and calcitonin. We'll look at potassium regulation and the role of aldosterone. We'll take a look at sodium and osmotic pressure regulation and the role of aldosterone. Water and osmotic pressure regulation will be looked at, and the roles of ADH and aldosterone in those processes. And then we'll look at some of the characteristics of urine. Video 5 includes Part E, other urinary structures, and Part F, acid-base balance. This will look at review of acids and bases, maintenance of normal pH, and acid-base abnormalities. Unit 22. This is the digestive system. The first video includes Part A, a general introduction with general principles. Part B, the anatomy of the digestive system, including the abdominal cavity, the alimentary canal, accessory organs, and the wall of the alimentary canal. The second video deals with Part C, digestion. What is digestion? We'll look at chemical digestion, we'll look at the regulation, and we'll look at the absorption. Video 3 deals with metabolism, again, divided into several parts. Metabolism, we'll look at the liver, we'll look at cell metabolism, we'll look at nutrients and measurement. Video 4 continues with Part B, the second part of metabolism. We'll look at nutrient pools and states. We'll look at the control of blood glucose, and then the regulation of feeding and body temperature. And this is the end of the introduction to the course. You're now ready to begin Unit 1, Anatomy and Physiology.